Hey guys, welcome to this little chat. My name is Mark Shawzin, the pattern trader. I'll be taking some questions today. So anything that's on your mind, just want to have a little give and take with you guys. We've got Jeek, we've got Wajit, we've got Sultan, Gurung, Parth, Steve, Haresh, David, we've got Peter, Hassan, Joe. So welcome everybody. I'm going to take any questions you have. I trade the forex markets. I trade the commodities markets. I trade the stock markets. I do options. So I'm pretty active. I have a certain price action, price pattern trading methodology. And this is just kind of an informal get together. If you have any questions. So Pete says, are you still bearish the Nasdaq? I'm not bearish the Nasdaq. I'm very bearish the Nasdaq. So we've had this bifurcation in the stock market in the last couple of weeks. By that I mean the Dow Jones and the S&P made all-time new highs last week, and the Nasdaq did not follow. So it was a bit of a bearish divergence. And then on top of that, I'm seeing a confluence of many different bearish price patterns coming together on the weekly and the daily charts on the Nasdaq. We have an ascending, broadening price pattern. We have a head and shoulders top price pattern. And I think that we are really at an inflection point. I'm going to know very quickly as to whether, I'm right about my little inclination that we're going to go down or not. So we're trading at about 316 on the triple Qs. That's an ETF that follows the Nasdaq. I follow these triple Qs pretty closely. Right now, I'm long a bunch of puts. Puts are really a bet on the decline. They're very leveraged trading instruments. And I bought a bunch of puts today. The 305s expiring at the end of the week. So if this doesn't move 10 handles, I'm going to be SOL. So I'm very long the puts. I'm also short some stocks like Zoom, IPGT, a bunch of stocks. I think that the Nasdaq is very vulnerable to a massive decline, and that could happen very quickly. We have the Fed, Jerome Powell speaking on Wednesday. That's going to be a very catalytic event. I think most people are expecting to stand pat on interest rates, but the markets are already speaking, meaning the market rates are zooming higher, the 10 years over 1.6. And so I think you're going to create, a whole kind of dislocation in the market. Jake says, are you trading XAU USD? What do you think? So XAU USD is the ticker symbol for spot gold. I have been short spot gold since the mid 1800s. We hit a support last week around 1670. We bounced. We're kind of treading water at 1625, and I would sell any rally in XAU USD spot gold. Sequant also says, are you bearish gold? What do you think the impact of higher yields? So yeah, the impact of higher yields are kryptonite to growth stocks like Nasdaq and precious metals. So we've had the 10-year yield, the Treasury in the United States, bounce from less than 0.5% last year to over 1.6%. And it's not only that we're going higher, but what is rocking the markets is the speed with which we're going higher. So we were supposed to be at this level by the end of this year, and we got to 1.6 on the 10-year by February. So I think this is spooking a lot of participants. You're getting a lot of dislocation between where the Fed wants interest rates to be and where the market is saying it should be. And then you've had, this extra stimulus package, which to me is just more fuel on the fire. So you've got a barn burner economy projected in the United States, 6-7% GDP this year. You have a reopening that's supposed to happen, beginning of this year with all this pent up demand. And then you had the government throwing all of this extra stimulus on top of there. And I think it's just going to create havoc and dislocation in the interest rate markets. And I think it will also bring down, highly valued stocks in the NASDAQ. Stefano says, any view on dollar Canadian? So dollar Canadian is very bearish. It continues to be very bearish, and the trend is downward. I like the the trend on the dollar going lower. We're kind of treading water, but certainly as pertaining to dollar Canadian, the Canadian is one of the strongest currencies on the board, and certainly against the dollar. So I do see that strong Canadian versus U.S. So I do see the U.S. Canadian pair going lower. So we have a bunch of folks. Why don't you tell me what you guys are trading, what you're doing, what you're interested in? B says, what's your take on the Dow Jones 30? Well, we did make new highs last week. The path of least resistance is still higher. So the Nasdaq and the Dow are two different animals. So, we are trading at the top of a reverse triangle here. We're looking like we have the makings of a key reversal today, meaning that we opened with the Dow at its highs, and now we've been slipping. And so I look at, how these bars close. How does a market close relative to the high and low? So right now we went to an all-time new high in the Dow Jones, and I want to see how we close. And then based on how we close, it's going to be very important to see if it's going to continue or maybe it's going to reject at this trading level. So Gamas says, what's the resistance on Tesla? So Tesla currently is trading at 703. The high's been 713. I have a feeling that Tesla is fully priced in here. I would look very hard. This is where the resistance was last week, around the 720. So I'd say 720 on Tesla is a hard resistance. And again, it's going to be very important how we close today. So I look at how a market closes relative to the high and low. Does it close on the top quartile, or does it close on the bottom quartile of the daily or the weekly range? And then from that, within the context of the trend and the pattern, I go from there. So let's see. Aaron says, is it possible that QQQ keeps going up with less than a 5% correction? So, anything's possible. I'd say the triple Qs, the resistance is around 325 on the triple Qs. We're trading at about 316 right now. And so, again, we had an inside day bar on Friday, meaning that the Friday's range from high to low was inside Thursday's range. So we have this coiling, we have this suppression, so we've had the rally off, the 300 level to about 320. And now we're just kind of backing and filling. So I'm looking at 320 on the high side. If it breaks out of that, it may be some more momentum. But I'm looking at this 314 number, which was the low today. And then, 311, 310. If we get under 310 on the triple Qs, I think there's going to be a lot of room under that. So right now we're trading in a range between 310 and 320, backing and filling. And, I do feel like we're going to, come out of this lower. Let's see. Kirby says, I love oil stocks and I'm long. Kirby, I think oil is fully priced. There's a real rejection level here at $70 on crude. So I would expect oil to take a breather here. Midiad says, what do you think about gold, big or short? Gold, dug in, had what I call a key reversal last week where it went to 1670, closed around 1720. But I'm bearish on gold. I would, short it here with a wide stop. Gamas says Bitcoin. Bitcoin also, I think, is in danger of potential double top here. We did exceed last week's high. So the top last week or 2 weeks ago was 57,000. We hit about 61,000, but peaks can be asymmetrical. Doesn't mean that the two peaks have to be in the one area. And so, if you cross the 61,000 and go through 50,000, that would imply that there's a neckline and perhaps a top here. So, I'd be, watching that very carefully, how Bitcoin trades at this level. We're down about 3,000 today. It's got rejected at the 61,000. And like I said, I would watch that 50,000 level because then we could be putting in a pretty big, top on Bitcoin. But it's if it consolidates and hangs in here, that'll be healthy. Nabaresh says, I will short gold again after a wait. Yeah, so again, I'm long-term bearish gold. I think we're going to go down to 1650 before it goes to 1750. Hey, Frank. Hey, Shabam. Jason. So let me know what you guys. So Ben says, what do you think about Australian dollar, US dollar? So, long term, I'm friendly, but I think there's a lot of resistance here. There's, support in the dollar, which I think is consistent with a flight to safety mentality. So as rates go up, things get increasingly dicey. I think you're going to see investors kind of go to the sidelines where now they can get a higher rate of return, risk-free in U.S. Treasuries, and maybe also park themselves in the dollar for a while. So I do expect that there is resistance right now at the 80 level in Aussie versus U.S. And while I don't think it's a shorting opportunity, I'm not doing anything in that currency right now. Jason says, what's your prediction for gold for 2021? Pain. My prediction is pain. I think we're going lower. I know that's counter to what everybody in the world is thinking, but I think we're going lower. Parth wants to know about pound US dollar. So I do think the pound on a relative basis is strong versus a lot of these other currencies. But like I said, I think that we may get dollar acting as a safety haven in the near term until investors can figure out what this interest rate picture looks like. So I think there's some resistance in the pound at these levels. But again, I just expect more of a trading range than a massive sell-off. Julio says, what about S&P 500? Again, same as Dow. Let me just go to the S&P 500 right now. Why can't I find this thing? Here it is. So we're trading right at the top of S&P. We got to levels that we reached, in February. We traded right back up to this, 3950 level. And again, I want to see how we close. So S&P made a new move higher earlier this morning. We're kind of, dancing a little lower, but it's early. So I want to see how the Dow, the Nasdaq, the S&P close relative to the high and low of their ranges today. And again, we've got market maybe just hanging out, until Wednesday when Chairman Powell speaks. And I think everyone expects or knows what he's going to say, but it always has the effect of being a market moving day. So, Wednesday's moving day. Nicholas says, hey, Mark, are you looking to short Zoom? I shorted Zoom today. Do you have a good entry point? I would just, get in there right now. Let me just shift this over. Let's see. Zoom is trading at 348. The high is 351. I shorted right around here at 348. And, maybe early, there's no real kind of sign other than I just feel that the chart pattern is thrashed. Usually I wait for some kind of reversal. We don't really have that in Zoom right now. We've just been, kind of hanging out. We have like all of these inside trade bars. So what I mean by inside bars, for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, the trading ranges have been very narrow. Each, high and low has been within each other. And to me, this reflects a compression. And when you have a compression, you usually have a release of the energy. And then I look for the energy to release in the direction from, whence it came, either the trend or the pattern. And both the trend and the patterns are indicating lower on Zoom. So it could continue to tread water here to, I don't know, it could go anywhere. But I do think that, went to 309 and then bounced. And so that 309 looks like a one-legged stool that'll eventually tilt over, meaning that prices have to go lower. So I like Zoom on the downside. I would short into any kind of strength. But, you could just wait for what I call a key reversal day, where the market makes a new low, makes a new high, and then closes on the low. And that actually, to me, the markets point in the direction they want to go. And that's why I always say I wait till the end of the day. Now, I know that's not convenient for a lot of people who are trading on 15-minute charts and looking for some magic crossover. I look at the big picture. I try and see the forest for the trees, and I just wait for certain days to get me in these. Now, I kind of went in early on Zoom, just started to get, nibble at a position. And then if it, indicates, what I'm thinking, then I will, keep adding to my position. So let me know what you're thinking. So a Trader's Life says, thanks. The momentum is very slow, which is usually bad for a stock, would you say? So yeah, so these, again, the trading has slowed in Zoom. We've gone into a sideways, and I expect it eventually to come out on the downside. So you could put even a sell stop under today's low. If it decides to correct, the day's low of Zoom is 344 on the dot. So you could put a sell stop there, and that's what I like to do. I like to have the market confirm what I'm looking at and run into my order, rather than trying to guess where it's going to go. Aaron says, how many pips on average are your stops? It really varies depending on each trade. I know that that's not a convenient answer, but if I'm trading on a weekly chart, then my stops are very wide. So the way I handle markets is that I like to give them room to trade. I shorted into the Nasdaq today. I shorted into the QQQs at 316, knowing full well it could go to 320 or 322 on me, in which case I would just keep shorting more. But so I try and keep my stops very wide. I think, and so the way you handle that is just lower the size of your position. So I'm always trying to get the bigger move. Whereas I think most day traders are trying to get small moves and have big positions. And then they get stopped out a lot on small moves. And so I like to look at monster trades in the market. So I did a webinar about 3 weeks ago. I told our members on that thing, when the QQQs were 334, that it was the top. I wasn't guessing. I saw a weekly key reversal at the top of an ascending broadening price pattern. I started buying the 320 puts that expired the following week at $1. By Tuesday, those puts went to $10. So I made 10 to 1 on my money, or between 6 and 8 to 1, really. I made 559% in 2 days, and made $500,000 on those put trades. Then the next week, I did the same thing. And then last week, I kind of got, I got my hat handed to me, no pun intended. I stayed short. The market rallied. I lost a few bucks, but I put my my chips back in the ante for this week. I started buying puts for the 305 puts that expire at the end of this week, on the expectation that the Nasdaq is going to get dented, that it's just going to get its face kicked in. So Robin says, I'm long Australian dollar for the long term. Am I fooling myself? No, I think long term it is going to go higher, Robin. But currencies can go into sideways, 3-4 months sideways things. So if you have that outlook, I think you'll be paid. So Neil says, what do you think about Euro Yen? Euro Yen's at an inflection point at this 130 price level. It's at a real inflection point. This is where the monthlies kick in. And so we are either going to see a paradigm shift where for many decades, the yen pairs have been going lower as the yen has been strengthening. Now we've seen some recent momentum that has carried these yen pairs really to the apex. And so where they go from now will probably dictate the next major move. We're really at an inflection point of pound yen, dollar yen, euro yen, especially dollar yen at 109. This could be, really a major opportunity where it starts going back downward in the direction of the trend, or we start breaking in a new direction. So we're really at an inflection point. If dollar yen gets above 110, then I think it'll be a real signal that we've got a real turnaround in these yen pairs. So I just want to let you know, all this week, I'm going to be conducting live sessions. It's kind of hard for me to answer questions because what I like to do when I answer a question is show what I'm looking at on a chart. And that's what I'm actually going to be doing all this week. I'm going to be conducting live training sessions, at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is about 5 hours from now, in which I will go into the markets live and share with you exactly what I'm looking at and how, I put together my strategy, which is a combination of looking at the trend or the pattern, then looking at what I call an insurance day bar, which is a key reversal or an inside bar, and then, coupling it with an execution strategy. So it's a very layered methodology that puts me in the direction where I capture these monster trades. I've been short gold for $150. I was short Nasdaq, as it dropped 10% and made 7 figures on that trade. So I'll be sharing with you what I'm doing, and I'll put the link in the chat box here. You can check it out if you want. It'll be thepatterntrader.com/live. So that'll be at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're interested, check it out. Vivian says, Nasdaq has been ranging quite a bit today. I'm new here. Is there a drop? I have a sell. So I do expect, the Nasdaq to, it's got resistance right here at about 318 on the QQQs. We're trading right in the middle right now at 315.5. We're, start drifting lower. Today's low was 314.5. So if you take out that 314.5, to me, it's not a question if, but when. Like I said, I'm loaded up on Nasdaq puts. So I put, my money where my mouth is. I've been saying for 3 weeks, you have to be short the Nasdaq. And this is where my focus is. I'm kind of like a dog with a bone. I don't just kind of look all over the map. It's like what's happening, with Australian, Canadian, what's going on here, there. Once I see a move and I can assess the risk reward, like I believe I can in the Nasdaq, I'm all in. And then that becomes my focus. So yeah, there's a lot going on with the yen pairs. There's been something going on with the Swiss, pairs. I've taken a nibble at the long side of euro yen and pound yen, but my focus is the Nasdaq. I am short the Nasdaq. I'm short Nasdaq stocks. I just feel, I just look for 1 or 2 trades a year that line up where I can take a huge whack out of it. Now, my objective when I saw the QQQs at 334 was that I wanted to take $1 million out of the move in the Nasdaq, and I thought that $1 million would include when it goes to 285. Turns out I made $1 million between 334 and 300 on the Nasdaq. Now on the Qs. Now we've bounced from 300 to 315. Now I'm taking another whack, and I think we get to 285 on this drop. So my plan is to make another $1 million on this move. So I can't be more unambiguous about or clear about what I feel. There's just a convergence of a number of bearish price patterns. I don't care. All these analysts are saying, that you've got trillions of dollars of stimulus coming into the market. You've got a huge GDP. You've got reopening. Yeah, tell me something I don't know, okay? Because I'll tell you something that they don't know, is that, the way you value stocks is you establish the future value by discounting it backwards to establish the present value of the future cash flows. And what's happening is you're facing a deceleration of cash flows, especially like Zoom, where it had all the money made during the pandemic. Now the economy is going to open. People are going to go back into offices, not Zoom so much. So they're going to be facing decelerating cash flows going into the out years, discounted back at a higher interest rate, and they're trading at a huge 30 plus multiple. So all of those things is just a perfect storm where you're just going to get a freaking implosion. Okay, so, if I'm wrong, I'll admit it at some point in the future. But right now, I'm heavily loaded short Nasdaq. So Joy says, I appreciate your generosity. I've learned a lot from your way of trading. It makes trading so simple. So thanks. So guys, I think I'm going to leave it off there. I just want to answer a few questions. I am going to be conducting a live session tonight. So if you'd like to understand a little bit more about my thinking, where I can show you on the charts exactly how I drill down toward a high quality trade, meaning that I assess the risk versus the reward. And typically I try and create trades where I have a 3-to-1 risk reward. So if I'm going to risk 50 pips, I want to see an outcome of at least 150 pips. Now, this is completely different than what most people are doing. Most people trading the Forex markets or stocks, they're looking for a buck here or 7 pips here or 15 pips on a 15-minute chart with some Bollinger Band or moving average crossover. I don't look at any of that. I look at a clean chart, and I'm looking to take a piece of the middle out of a big move. So when the Qs dropped from 334 to 300, I didn't take a piece of the middle. I took everything. I shorted at 334. I bought back at 300. I made $1 million on that trade, and now I'm reloading again. So I will see you guys tonight. The link is in the chat box. Go to thepatterntrader.com/live. Sign up, and I'll hopefully see a lot of you there.